Hi, walk with me in Venice. It's the blue hour. You can see the sky is spectacular. It's a beautiful night, and I'm about to head into St. Mark's Square, but I thought I'd give you an idea of the silence when the crowds leave. I'm just outside the stairway to the Cork Museum. That's what this is. It's a great museum with so much of the history of Venice, and it's at one end of the Piazza San Marco. Let's see what happens when you actually walk into St. Mark's Square. And what I show you will be a little bit different than what a typical guide would. This happens to be the best time of day, I think, to enjoy St. Mark's Square. These little orchestras are playing. Again, this is back where we came from, the Cork Museum. Napoleon called this the most beautiful square in Europe, most beautiful piazza in Europe, and it would be difficult to disagree. We have a soundtrack. I don't know if you can hear the music. The Cafe Florian, over on the right, that's this one, is the first cafe that had coffee in Europe. Because Venice is so organized around trade and sea travel, it doesn't have farming. There's not enough land for farming. So what Venice lacks in land, it made up for with traveling by boat, going to trade spices. I'll stop here and take a look. The orchestras are sort of competing right here. So this is the Grand, over here on the left, the Grand Cafe. But I'm going to head over to the Florian first. Lots of people say Florian is, I don't know, expensive. Well, it's the only place in the world where you can have a coffee or a spritz with a view like this. I'll walk over there and show it to you. Got the music. They also hold concerts in the piazza. You can just see moment of the Doge's Palace over there, but we'll walk there because this is going to be about 20 minutes. Cafe Florian was also sort of notorious for Giacomo Casanova. He would often meet his paramours there, and cafe society was different than it is today. Because people would sit and think for hours, which they still do, but they communicated, talked politics, changed politics. I like it if people are dancing and all in the square because it is romantic. Or photographing themselves. This is the Campanile, the largest bell tower in Venice. Let's keep walking. We're facing towards San Marco, the Basilica of San Marco. So originally Theodore was the patron saint of Venice, and the Venetians got St. Mark's bones from Alexandria in Egypt and brought them here. They considered it home in a way to make him the patron saint of Venice. And he was a bigger deal saint, so it was more powerful. And they wanted to show their power. So you can see by the front of St. Mark's and the things that look like paintings are actually mosaics. Maybe one of these days I'll go up there and show them to you because they're only about fingernail sized, each little piece of glass that makes up the mosaics at St. Mark's. So this Looks like it's been set up for either walking, because I just got here today, so I haven't seen those taken apart. Walking with the Aqua Alta, or there was an event. Well, the Venice Film Festival is here right now. So this is called the Doge's Palace. And it's a palace where the Doge, he'd be considered a duke, lived and ran the government. There's the bell tower with the onyx that still works. The bell tower still works. The clock, not bell tower, the clock. And the clock still chimes. There's the front of St. Mark's. The four horses are also from Egypt, Alexandria. There's St. Mark. The symbol of St. Mark is the lion with the wings. So what we sort of have done is walked through the back door, in a way, or the side door, to come into Piazza San Marco. Because if you were coming from a boat, which would have been the way to get here once upon a time, you would have entered through what we're walking to now, which is the front door. There's actually a couple reasons I chose to do this in the evening. Fewer crowds, lovely lighting, and the music is playing. There's the Doge's door, and he could pass right between his palace, which is all of this, and St. Mark's, which is all of this, through that door. Other people couldn't do it. So you might notice that the palace isn't like a fortified castle that you'll find all over Europe. And the reason that it's not all fortified and blocking entrance is because the Doge was an official who was actually voted in. He didn't come there by heredity or defeating other people. He was actually voted by the merchants of Venice. And it was a merchant empire. No land to farm, again, like I said. And so rather than farming, you could go out and make some money if you were good at trading. Trading spices, trading money, trading fabrics. And since the quickest travel was boats, Venice was a very powerful republic. And some of you will know that it began because of barbarian invasions on the mainland. And the mainlanders came out to Venice and started building their houses because it was kind of a swampy. I don't want to call it swampy because it's the wrong word. So the two pillars are several things. One, they're an entrance to Venice, like the front door. This pillar has the St. Mark's lion on it. Lion with wings. Again, it represents St. Mark. I believe the wings and the body are from two different eras. One is Egyptian, this lion, I guess. And then this was their earlier patron saint, St. Theodore, who killed a dragon. And he's said to be standing on the dragon that he killed. So between the two poles, lots of stuff went on. It was the front door, but it was also a place where executions took place. Sort of the center of town. So I'll walk us out there to the Riva, where the water is, and then I'll bring us in through the front door. And then we'll walk back over to the side door, and then you'll have an idea of Venice's St. Mark's. It's very quick, very brief. I may come back during the day, show you how busy it gets. Okay, so out in front of us on the Riva is the Grand Canal. So the Grand Canal is kind of a highway. So since there were no cars, the widest body of water was the quickest way to get through on the boats. And thus, the Grand Canal could take the most boats. So these days it takes motorboats, engines. But the original boats were all like these. They're very flat on the bottom and they're very narrow to fit through the narrow canals. Here comes a sailboat, big sailboat. I was here for the America's Cup. I don't recall what year it was, but all the boats were like that, and they had the race right out here on the river. So I'll give you a look at what you can see out on the Grand Canal. We can see across while this boat's coming towards us to the Church of Santa Maria della Salute with a huge dome, bigger in person, and it was created to thank the Mother Mary, for helping them defeat the plague. The plague was an interesting situation in Venice because it is an island. So people in the 1300s came here to escape the plague. They did have it because they brought in rats that had the fleas that caused the plague from the mainland, but generally speaking, it was not as plague-ridden as most of Europe. So the air was considered fresher. There weren't boats with motors, so just paddling. So still today, there are no cars on Venice, no motorcycles, no bicycles, unless you live way down the way. And you can walk on the Riva, all the way down to the other end of Venice. This is back in the corner of the Doge's Palace. There's quite a few people out tonight. So again, the Doge's Palace is an open palace because he was elected. People wanted him to be in charge. They wanted him to be the Doge. It was generally older gentlemen who were part of the sort of noble chosen families. And he would remain as a Doge until the end of his life. And when he took office, the Doge had to give up his probably palazzo apartment. They were well-to-do. You can see the St. Mark statue and the Theodore. And there's the Campanile. Okay, so here we are at the front door. Still can't really tell what the sailboat's doing. Seems to be just kind of sitting out there. You can get a gondola ride here. I don't love these the best. I'm sorry, gondoliers here. But to go out onto the main highway right away is, to me, less pleasant than going on to the very little cale that are the little tiny inlets all over town. And then maybe head out to the Grand Canal over by the Rialto Bridge, because there are so many ways that you can get out there. Because it is heavy traffic. You can see there's the buses, there's that sailboat. During the day, there's pleasure boats. There's boats with equipment that they have to bring to town. That is the way that everything gets here. Okay, we'll walk back through here, past the library and Career Museum, and between that and the Doge's Palace. We're not in a rush. It's kind of a nice crowd. I see a tour group. But in the evening, day trippers will have left, and it's a nice chance to walk around the Piazza San Marco and enjoy it without really having so much traffic. So the thing about the traffic too, Venice has had traffic for centuries and centuries because it was a trade port. Oh shoot, I can't remember the name of this cafe, but I like to come to it, and they have a good ice cream place right there behind it. So I might have to go get an ice cream after I finish with this today. The glass on the street lamps is pink. I don't know if you can really tell. It's a very light pink, but it gives a lovely glow to the skin in the area. Campanile, you can go up there during the day. Gives a great view of Venice. And it's actually an elevator that goes up, so that's very unusual for bell towers. The shops have their doors closed right now, but underneath is filled with shops. Most of the shopping here is upscale. There are tchotchke places with souvenirs, but there are just as many beautiful jewelry stores, high fashion. All the designers are represented here. Gucci, Pucci, Givenchy. The booths have some ideas of places that you can buy things. You don't maybe want to buy your glass from them, but when I first came and brought my daughter back something from Venice, it was possibly Chinese made, but I said, well, it's from Italy because I brought it from there. Campanile from right at the entrance. That's the entrance, and it's just across from St. Mark's. I think it's best if you look into buying these tickets online ahead of time because the lines, the queues can be so long. So typically, to be out here in the daytime, also, a guide should be licensed in Venice, and those are licensed by Venetians. I don't have a license to be a guide. Those are Moors at the top. It's Lapis Lazuli is the blue. I have to come out and show you that in the daytime. And we're walking back to the larger part of the piazza. Appears to have been a busy day. So the trash needs to get picked up, and it will. And they sweep it, and they keep it pretty clean. But I think it's impossible when they've got thousands upon thousands of visitors. A lot of people have asked me about the fee that they were instituting or have instituted to visit Venice. They've only done it a few days, and the purpose of it is because people who come in for the day don't really spend enough money to make it worth Venice to have to clean up after the thousands of them. So you don't have to pay it if you're staying overnight. If you have a hotel or an Airbnb that you're staying at. I prefer hotels here. Neighborhoods are changing because people aren't living in them and they're renting them out as Airbnbs. But we're going to go to the Grand Cafe. We can hear their music a little bit. Oh, I might be at the end. Dining room upstairs of the restaurant. So to get a placement back where we are now. So there's some construction work going on the front of St. Mark's. Kind of always. There's been a few years I've been here when there's none, but it's unusual. And then this big hunk thing in front of it. Not sure what that is. I'll find out tomorrow. Campanile. The Library and Career Museum. Lots of cameras up and around. At least I don't feel like I'm all alone here doing this. where I want to talk a little bit about the holes and the sidewalks. Some of the other things that are so unusual to Venice.